Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. It is a pleasure for me to join in what will likely be my last 75-minute debate in this chamber. And you know, I have some points I want to put on the record. I'm going to do some comparing and contrasting of our record with the former government's record across the way. But to have a member from Saskatoon Centre stand up and laud the potash companies and say that we have done wrong by the potash companies after they're the ones that nationalized them. It makes me, it's laughable to have the member from Saskatoon Centre stand up and talk about business and opportunities and the private sector when I honestly think he thinks private sector is a bad word. So to actually listen to him say that was quite an interesting turn of events, and I'll get to some of the comments by my colleague from Regina Northeast in a few minutes. But Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to be able to follow two of our SAGE, as the member from Saskatoon said, our SAGE colleagues, the member from Lumsden Morris and the member from Cannington. It's always a pleasure to listen to their history. I know it is a bit different than the history from the member from Athabasca, and they're maybe somewhere in between is where truth meets the road. But Mr. Speaker, I think it's very interesting to have these debates about budgets. And honestly, when you go back into history, you do have to compare the last budget of an NDP government in 2006 with our budget this year, and that's something I'll be happy to do. I'll run through a few of the numbers right now, and the member from Saskatoon Centre and the member from Regina Northeast want to talk about public debt. Well, here's the numbers. In 2008, the public operating debt was $6.8 billion. In 2020, the public operating debt will be $6.2 billion. Lower, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that's lower. Crown Corporation debt in 2008, 3.4. In 2020, 9.7. That's higher. You know why that's higher, Mr. Deputy Speaker? Because we have to invest in infrastructure. It's something the members opposite never did in our Crown corporations. I remember lots of stories of rolling brownouts during the lean years of the NDP. They did not invest in infrastructure. So I know one year they were proud in one of their budgets, they invested $250 million in infrastructure. On this side, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we have invested on average $1 billion a year in Crown infrastructure to make sure the people of the province get the services and the reliability that they deserve, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Capital plant infrastructure, 1.6 in 2008. In 2020, it's going to be 1.1. Once again, I believe the people of the province want us to invest in their infrastructure, want safer roads, want better schools, want new hospitals, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and they deserve that, and that's why we will continue to invest money into infrastructure across our province, because that's what the citizens of this province expect and deserve. Mr. Deputy Speaker, there are a few more interesting fun facts for the members opposite that I'd like to draw the comparison of. He talked about the debt servicing charge, the member from Saskatoon, and he threw out some numbers that I'm pretty sure knew weren't accurate. But in 2006-07, the debt charge was $783 million a year. In 2019-2020, our debt charges will be $694.4 million a year. That is $88.6 million lower. Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Going down.
Let me repeat that for the member from Saskatoon Centre.
He's taking notes.
$88.6 million lower a year in debt servicing charges.
He's journaling it right
Mr.
now.
Speaker, in 2006-07, the percentage of total spending of our debt was 8.4. 2019-2020, 5. Mr. Speaker, that's 3.4 lower. Mr. Speaker, Deputy Speaker, percent of our debt as a percentage of GDP. 1.7 in 06-07, in 2019-2020, 1. Lower once again, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Per capita debt in our province, and this is a good one because the members want to talk about per capita debt in our province. 06-07, $789 per person. 2019-2020, $593 per person, which is $196 per person debt in our province. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, if they want to compare where we are now to where we were in 06, 07. I would love to make that comparison, and I'll do that comparison every day of the week, and I'm proud of the record on this side of our government. There is some more numbers, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Just to get back to the per capita debt and everyone in the province.
That's a good
I
one.
wonder if that's because there's 163,000 more people living here and climbing than there was in 06, 07. And I was always a big believer that people vote with their feet, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And the more people come to this province, the more they enjoy a quality of life, I think the better our province is and the stronger we are in diversity. Mr. Deputy Speaker, there's a lot more I'd like to get to, but there's a few comments that were made across the aisle that kind of made me raise an eyebrow, especially from the member from Regina Northeast, who is kind of a walking, talking advertising for our side lately, Mr. Deputy Speaker. But when he talked about the SED program and people being hurt that are the most vulnerable, Mr. Deputy Speaker, he wasn't around then, but this government and this side is the one that brought in the SED program for people that are the most vulnerable in our province. And he wants to talk about tiers. Well, I was at that announcement and talking to these people that were finally going to get some extra money to have a better quality of life, to have more dignity in what they're doing. And if you're there, member from Regina Northeast, during this announcement, when we rolled out the SED program, you would have seen people crying as well, but of joy. Because I talked to one young lady that said, I said, what do you think you're going to do with this, your extra money? I'm finally going to buy a bed. And she started crying. Buy a bed, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I talked to another young man who said, you know what? I would actually have the option to go out and have a meal in a restaurant. I've never done that, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I'll take no lessons, and this side will take no lessons on how to treat the most vulnerable in this province when we did things like that. And they should actually learn some of that history. Because before the SED program, there was no option for the most vulnerable people in our province, and I think that's something they'd be wise to remember, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Another thing, talking about the seniors in our province and the people that helped build this province. That member gets on his feet and talks about seniors being left behind. Well, 16 years they had an opportunity to increase the senior income plan. Not once did they do that, Mr. Deputy Speaker. So once again, when they want to get on their high horse and talk about this side, our government leaving people behind, well, they should, because they're the best at it. They did it for 16 years and left people in this province behind without having the ability to get ahead, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And it's something that is quite irritated on this side of the House, because they wrap themselves in their socialism flag and say everyone should be treated fairly. Well, they've never once done that when they had the ability to be in government. And Mr. Speaker, I hope it's a very long time before they have that opportunity to be in government again, because they sure hasn't shown any ability or have the honour to deserve that respect to represent the people of the province. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I'm going to end with a few comments on crises. Mr. Speaker, every day in this House, I hear there's a crisis. There's a crisis in healthcare. There's a crisis in education. There's a crisis in post-secondary education. There's a crisis 5 years ago in long-term care. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, I'm not saying everything's perfect in the province of Saskatchewan. There is and will continue to be more work to be done. But I remember Bob Benrod said, you can say whatever you want in opposition because it doesn't matter. Well, they have really taken that to heart, Mr. Deputy Speaker. They've taken that quote to heart, especially the member from Regina Northeast, because he has said almost anything and really not cared if it was enhanced or not, Mr. Deputy Speaker. But I'd say at some point in time, there's going to have to be some ideas come out of that other side. There's going to have to be, other than, there's a crisis. There's a crisis. They kind of remind me of the little boy that cries wolf, Mr. Deputy Speaker. If you scream it too often, no one's going to believe you if you actually have a valid point. And I'm saying there is more work to be done. We have to work on wait times in ERs. We have to work on infrastructure and education. But from where we were in 2007 to where we are now is a far cry from there being a crisis in this province, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I know this government is going to continue to work hard and earn the right to govern and represent the people of this province, and I can't wait to see where we go now that the budget is balanced. It was a 3-year project, and there was a lot of hard work done by Minister of Finance, by the Treasury Board, and I'm proud to say that our team took that 3-year plan, put it into action, and the budget is balanced now. And now the people of the province of Saskatchewan helped us do that good work, and the Premier and this team is going to roll out a great plan for growth over the next 10 years, and can't wait to see how it comes to fruition. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.